This is a Onewheel. Maybe it's your Onewheel. You love it, you ride it everywhere. It has brought joy and meaning to your days and brought new and exciting friendships into your life. But what if one day it just stopped working? What do you do? Well, you could send it back to Future Motion for diagnosis and repair, which is what most people tend to do. However, as I will get to in this video, that may not always be the best recourse for every situation. Now, the topic of Onewheel repair is itself a pretty muddy and complicated microsphere of economics, ethics, and, well, liability and social stigma. I know, it's a bit weird that a broken electronic toy could lead to such complicated implications. Anyway, you could also just open the thing up and try to fix it yourself, which is what I usually do, and quite often fail. I try to fix things myself most of the time, but to be perfectly frank with you, I tend to break things pretty severely before I ever actually get around to learning how to fix them. But that's the curse of DIY. And of course, then another option is to find a relatively local independent repair shop and bring it there. You know, like a car, or a computer, or a phone, or almost anything else. In this video, we're going to cover a few things. First, we're going to take the very long drive from Queens, New York to middle of nowhere, New Jersey, and visit Brian and the crew at One Stop Board Shop. Then we'll get some helpful tips from the tech at One Stop, and lastly, I'm going to ramble for a short while about how frustrating it is when your Onewheel breaks. Just as a disclaimer, that last segment won't have all the fun B-roll and dynamicism of the first parts, and it will get a bit ranty. You've been warned. Now, if you've been watching this channel long enough, you've probably seen Brian before. One Stop Board Shop started in his garage, grew beyond it to its first storefront, and now has jumped over to a larger location where he and his team of misfits, who are all in way better shape than I am, by the way, sell and repair electric toys of all kinds. I'm happy to consider Brian a friend at this point, and it's genuinely impressive what he's built. My hat is off to him. The trip to One Stop is a long one for me, but when I got there, it really was a joy to behold. The sales floor is sizable and filled with not only Onewheel focused fun, but e-bikes, e-skates, and even an e-scoot. Accessories line the walls, and parts and inventory fill its halls. The staff ride Onewheels around, and walking is optional. It was an honestly fun time, and I wish they were closer. By the way, they're having a grand opening celebration on September 19th, 2021, and if you're in the northeast-ish area, you should try to go. I unfortunately cannot attend, but it's shaping up to be a very fun time. Links in the description for more information. So, getting to One Stop Board Shop is a nice experience, especially walking into a familiar face and a warm vibe. I told Brian this, and I still mean it. That shop is like a dream come true. It can't be overstated how awesome it is that a guy's hobby turned into not only his job, but one made of passion and joy. So, mazel tov, Brian and friends, truly. And what do they do at this place? Well, they fix Onewheels and electric skateboards, and they sell them. They also sell other stuff. It's kind of hard to walk in and not buy something. There's a cool little charge and chill spot, accessories all over, and a nice back area where all the technical stuff happens. Anyway, one of the most convenient things about an independent service and repair place like this is that you can kind of just drop off your board and tell them what you want done to it. New tire, new bearings, extended battery, whatever. And then you just kind of pick it up, hand them a bunch of money, and that's it. Actually, let's have Brian talk about it.
Independent repair shops are a good thing for the community because they provide the community with a local place that you can go to and get either a quick fix done or something that you don't necessarily need to ship it out to a manufacturer and go through that whole long, arduous process. It gives you options. There's a bunch of different places in your area. You can bring it to where you want to bring it. The ability for you to have local support for your board within, a couple minutes to a couple hours drive, it's kind of paramount in this very niche, very neophyte industry. And the other cool thing about independent repair shops like mine here at One Stop Board Shop, you can actually get a bunch of cool performance type aftermarket accessories like tires. We carry Hoosier and Burris. We carry the FloatLife products, SKF bearings and FAG bearings. You can really do a whole lot of cool customization to your board that you couldn't otherwise get with OEM.
There's been times where even as me as a rider need to get some service done and the only option is to go right to the manufacturer. Now that's probably a lot of people's only option, but to be out of a board for a couple of weeks at a time and not know where it's at, and not know where, you know, what's going on with the repair, it's very important for people to know that we're here to not only know that we do repairs, we do service, we do full customization, but we have products here from some of the best companies in the world. Not only letting you know that there's tons of options for upgrades, customizations, but we stay on top of trends. We try to let you guys know what the safest way to operate your PEVs and what the safest options. Not every single option out there is safe or required or something that we recommend.
Whoa! So that's scary. So we're not gonna do that anymore. Nope.
So, you know, just coming by the shop and having questions and having someone to answer those questions, not through a phone and not through an email, is very, very important.
Now, what kind of a video would this be if there weren't some sort of educational value to it? As time goes on, it seems more and more important that there be more information available to the community in order to help demystify the device that we use day to day. And so, in the spirit of independent repair and an informed consumer base, we have Ron, the head tech at One Stop, to talk a little bit about some of the things he sees day to day.
The most common repair I really see is like headlight issues, like if either the LED strip's not on at all, or if it flickers, that's a really common one. Usually this is because the headlight cable, I can actually show you, has this big Faraday on here which rattles around the controller box. Now a lot of times that could do one of two things. It could bump into other components in the controller and damage them, or it rips these wires right out of the clips. So a lot of times people have headlight issues, swapping this out for these F- cables, which comes in two options. There's standard and there's crosswire, because depending on the model or firmware of your controller, you might have a crosswire headlight cable or a standard one. What that is the wires going here to here. So if they match up the color the same on both ends of the clip, it's standard. If one of them is crossed, it's crossed. It's pretty self-explanatory. Other issues with that, you could replace the LED strip entirely, or the solder joints sometimes get damaged just from bumping over curbs and whatever you ride on. So that just entails opening a controller up, diagnosing the issue if it's an LED strip, the wire, like I said, or a solder joint. That could take maybe 30 to 40 minutes tops to repair that. Someone could come in with a headlight issue, be back on their way within the hour. So a quick little few tidbits on waterproofing here. One thing I like to do, especially in the controller, well actually both, the LED strip. I always go around the seam of that because sometimes just dirt and grime and debris I've seen get in the controller housing, so that's obviously a weak point. So I always silicone firmly around all of that, just as an extra little added protection against any kind of wet you might be going through. So the cure time for this, we let them sit for 72 hours. We think that's pretty important because if it's not fully cured, it's compromised. So these waterproofing services that we do, you can get them wet afterwards, but we always just like to recommend, because nothing life's guaranteed, and neither is this, not to submerge your board. Like you can, but like we waterproof our boards here at One Stop Board Shop, but we still avoid the wet just in case. I mean, it's just not worth the damage you could incur should water get inside. But it's still an excellent precaution to take. Should you get caught in a rainstorm or a puddle hits you or snow happens. And that's all I have to say about waterproofing.
Thank you, Ron. Very much appreciated. Now, to be perfectly honest, I had planned to do a lot more with this video, and the majority of the time spent on this visit was just goofing around, talking shop, catching up on life, and kind of just having a good time. Frankly, that's one of the highest praises I have for this place. The atmosphere is really friendly, and it feels like you could sink an entire day there pretty much doing nothing. They're growing their presence online as well, so if you're interested in what they're doing, I've got plenty of links down in the description for you to check them out. Again, many sincere thanks to Brian and the crew at One Stop Board Shop for being so welcoming. I had a great time there, and I think you would too. And now, on to the end segment of this video. So this ending part of the video is going to be mildly messy, slightly less scripted, and may get a bit complicated. It touches upon the idea of right to repair. And if you aren't familiar with what right to repair is, I will leave links in the description below for you to follow. There's an excellent, very short video from one of my favorite YouTubers, Louis Rossman, and some reading for you to do as well. Now, once you're familiar with the idea of right to repair, it is important to point out that if you are a one-wheel owner and rider, whether you asked for it or not, the unfortunate reality is that you are involved in a situation that is a bit of a tug of war between the issue of consumer rights and the continual trend that technology companies have to further lock down the devices that they manufacture and to further create a situation where repair becomes not just necessary but profitable. So what does that mean? You purchase a product, it lasts for however long it lasts, the warranty expires, and then it breaks. And then what do you do? As far as Future Motion is concerned, you have to send the Onewheel back to them for them to fix it. Now, if you have an original Onewheel or a Onewheel Plus, you're essentially out of luck, as those models are no longer supported and they will only repair the Onewheel XR and the Onewheel Pint. By that same token, if a minor part on the Onewheel breaks, as far as Future Motion is concerned, you cannot repair it yourself without voiding the warranty. Now, that's not actually how warranty law, at least in the US, works. And now that is its own world of complicated conversation and nuance, which I will leave some links for further reading in the description below as well. However, if your headlight does go out, as far as Future Motion is concerned, your only recourse is to send it back to them, pay whatever they want to charge you, and that's it. If your battery has an issue, you cannot simply replace the battery yourself or build a new battery yourself, as far as they are concerned, and replace it. If anything on the Onewheel breaks and you attempt to fix it yourself, they will consider their warranty void. Now, in practice, it's hard to say what that actually looks like. There are many occasions where people report a wonderful experience with Future Motion's repair department, and the prices that are quoted are reasonable and ethical, and that's fantastic. But there are just as many stories of people encountering outrageous prices where they would send in an XR for repair, and the quote for the repair would be nearly the cost of just buying another board, which is ridiculous and absurd. In fact, for most independent repair shops, in fact, as far as I know, every independent repair shop, if you send them or give them your Onewheel to repair, the way that they get major significant repair parts is by breaking apart existing Onewheels and using those parts. This is the BMS of a Onewheel, specifically a Onewheel Pint. If this thing breaks, I cannot order this part. A repair shop that's not Future Motion cannot order this part. If I want this part, I need to get it out of an already existing Onewheel. And the same goes for almost every other major repair that can happen on a Onewheel. If the motor controller fails, you cannot order one. You have to take one from another board. You can, of course, get into component level repair should a single component on the circuit board break, but that is way beyond the scope of my ability. Fortunately, there are people out there with that amount of skill, knowledge, and education. I am not one of them, once again. However, for the most part, you cannot just purchase a part to replace or repair something on a Onewheel. And what makes it even more unfortunate is that if I manage to get another BMS from another Pint, it will not actually work on my board because the Pint BMS and motor controller are paired together. If this breaks, I have to buy a new BMS and another motor controller from someone who has torn apart and chopped up their entire Onewheel Pint and buy them as a pair. Now, why is this a problem? Well, for one, it's anti-competitive. Two, it locks down a personal electric vehicle in a way that pretty much no other electric vehicle of this category is. If you ride an electric skateboard and the controller breaks, you can replace the controller. If you ride a scooter or an electric unicycle or an e-bike and the battery dies, you can replace the battery yourself by going with a third-party option. You can have an independent repair person or battery builder build a new one for you. You can replace the BMS. And for the most part, almost every other PEV has an option where you can just repair it yourself or bring it to any number of repair shops and have them just fix it for you. Now, I realize that the response to what I'm saying is, well, if it breaks, just send it back to Future Motion. Why should I have to? If I have one component on a Onewheel break and the Onewheel costs me nearly $2,000 and Future Motion quotes me $900 to fix it, but someone local to me can fix it for $200, why should I not have the freedom to take it to that person that I want to take it to and have them fix it? I do that with my car. Many of you do that with your car. You take your car to a mechanic. Most people don't and shouldn't take their car to the dealer for every single repair. In fact, most of the people watching don't send their board to Future Motion to change their tire. I know no one personally that actually does that. However, by the rule book, if you change your tire yourself, you have voided the warranty on your Onewheel. Now, I understand that there's nuance to that warranty, so there's not really much specificity as to how you can void it and when, and I understand that you will void the warranty on the tire, which is ridiculous, but the fact of the matter is that changing the tire yourself voids the warranty. Inflating the tire above 20 psi voids the warranty. It's in the manual, at least it's in mine. And the point that I'm trying to make is that the manufacturer of a product can specify whatever terms they want so that their repair process remains profitable. If you send in your Onewheel to Future Motion and they quote you $900 or whatever the case may be dollars for a repair when it's out of warranty, they are making money on that repair. It's why you can get quoted insanely high prices for a repair due to water damage, even though you've seen videos on the Onewheel YouTube channel of people riding on the beach and splashing through puddles in super extreme conditions, and this thing is built like a tank. Now, make no mistake, I love my Onewheels, all of them. I've been riding Onewheel since 2018. It's the thing that I ride the most, and I hold those objects very near and dear to my heart. But having a problem with the way a company treats the consumer base does not at all have to coincide with your love of a product. That's very common for anyone who is involved or knows about the right to repair movement and owns an iPhone, myself included. I do own an iPhone, regardless of the fact that I have massive issues with how Apple treats customers and repair. Now, I can ramble on and on about this for a very, very long time, but I do recommend that you at the very least click through some of the links in the description below to at least start getting familiar with some of the conversations and the dynamics around this sort of thing, because personal electric vehicles are, unfortunately, whether you ask for it or not, involved in this sort of political discussion. And I think it's really important to understand that enjoyment and appreciation for a product does not necessarily mean you have to or should agree with every policy or behavior that a company themselves puts out there. So I hope this video was at the very least helpful, and maybe you didn't like it and maybe you disagree with everything I say, at which point go ahead and hit the dislike button twice and subscribe already. All right, I'll see you in the next video, which will, by the way, be about an electric skateboard. I think you should really stick around for it. It's a very fun video, and that video will be more for me than for all you. That was a project that I really felt passionate about. I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope you enjoy it as well. As always, try really hard not to fall and wear a helmet.